for all of us that's efficient and what we need.
I don't know. But I know we have a functioning program today called the Federal Employees Health Benefit Program. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but if you are a federal employee, including this one, by the way, we'll probably vote ourselves a pay raise again soon. But that program does have widespread approval, and we've got to look at it. But the other point here is, I just saw in the paper, healthcare inflation was 9.6% this year. There's something, my dear friends, you can invent the best system in the world, but if you have close to double-digit inflation associated with healthcare costs, you're never going to come up with a program. I've been looking at this Massachusetts proposal and the one in Vermont, and frankly, I haven't enough information to make a decision. But I do know there's a system for federal employees that seems to be pretty successful. But two, I also know that if you've got double-digit inflation associated with healthcare costs, there's no system in the world that's going to keep up with the inflation. Could you go back to this gentleman, and then we'll go on the other side here. Yes, sir.
Comment.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to tell you welcome home.
Thank you, sir.
Combat U.S. Navy Seabee, and I did my tour over there. My question is, why do I keep getting the feeling that illegal aliens have more rights than I do?
First of all, thanks for serving, sir, and welcome home. But let me just say, I don't know what evidence you would have that would be the case. They are allowed into emergency rooms if there's an emergency. They're not allowed any health care other than that.
Nobody pays for my kids.
No, if your kids have an emergency, you can go to emergency.
When they were born, I paid for my children.
Yes, sir.
All four of them.
Yes, sir. But again, I want to point out, if someone's dying, I don't think we know any doubt. That's just a fundamental of America.
I agree there. But my comment, too, is I have a real problem with people from foreign countries coming here, not knowing our traffic laws, and they do cause a number of accidents. Why can't we have them pay for driver's training, driver's education, just like I had to for my children?
I'd be glad to do that if you could catch him. That's why we got a system to bring him out of the shadows. But may I just say, in all due respect, my dear friend, I understand the frustration. The frustration level is incredibly high. I understand and appreciate it. That's why I come to you and ask you if we can't work out this problem so that we don't have this kind of problem that you're describing, of which there are many others. As you know, in some states, they're saying give people who are here illegally driver's licenses. I don't agree with that.
No.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm a veteran of the Los Angeles Police Department, 25 years. My name is Richard L. Rank. I'd like to introduce you to my wife, who is a naturalized American citizen. We met in Spain 42 years ago. We did everything legally.
Thank
On
you.
the issue of immigration,
she has a place in heaven, having stayed with you all.
On LAPD, I go back to a time when we had a guest worker program.
Yes, sir. It was called a Bracero. Yes, sir.
Okay? And we had the authority as Los Angeles police officers to check their visas and make sure they were not expired. If they were expired, we took them in. There was a short form arrest report. They were turned over to immigration, and whatever happened after that was part of the federal government program. We lost control when we lost that program, and the Los Angeles City Council, in their infinite wisdom, elected to become the sanctuary for illegal aliens. And I don't think that's the only city that's happened in. Nope. That's when we lost control.
Phoenix.
Now, my question is, if you pass this law where we have another guest worker program, and I'm not totally against it, with proper controls, will you give local law enforcement that same kind of authority?
Yes, sir. But let me just point out that there's a lot of mayors, maybe one of them in this room would like to speak up, that are saying to me and writing to me and saying, look, it's not my responsibility, and I've got drug dealers, methamphetamine, et cetera, you know, that they feel is their job, and they don't want to do what is a federal responsibility. Now, in some cities and towns, the opposite is true, because they feel the problem is so large. So we're gonna have to sort that out. But what I'm hoping is that if we get a comprehensive approach to illegal immigration, we won't have the illegal immigrants here, so that would relieve you of the burden that you had before. And that maybe that's a bit of a utopian view, but we certainly wouldn't have, if we solved this problem in any way, we wouldn't have 11 million people washing around America over time that are here illegally, in my view. Thank you, sir, for your
response.
service. Is there someone? Go ahead, yes. We'll just go back and forth to one side.
Jim Casey, Prescott, thank you for your service here this evening, Senator. Appreciate it. Regarding the immigration issue, if we take the first 3 points of your plan, which goes up through the worker program, if you took the 10 million illegals that are here today and made them full participants in the work program, why is it then necessary to follow up with citizenship?
Because we found that in foreign countries, that if someone is living in a country and has no chance of attaining citizenship, over time they will be separated from that society and there will be enormous problems. In France today, there are people who are Muslims who are living in ghettos around Paris. You might have noticed that a few weeks ago they rose up and burned thousands of cars. We have found in the European experiment where they do not have an opportunity to earn their citizenship under any circumstances, that leads to a radicalization of that society. And that's just my view on that issue. Yes, sir. Oh, and then, I'm sorry. Then, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Senator, Jim Wallace is my name, 26 years, name aviator. Last worked with Gus Kinnear. The bill that you and Senator Kennedy have put forward,
and the President,
talk about a southern border study being required, and I believe it has to be 14 points have to be studied before the construction of the fence.
No.
Can you clear me up?
Yes, sir. One of the things that's been brought up about this is somehow we would have to have the Mexicans' permission. The only thing we want to do is make sure that the money is spent in the most efficient fashion. For example, there are many people that believe that all you need to do is build a border all the way, a wall all the way across the border, and that does it. There's other experts, in fact, the majority of experts, that believe in the trackless areas, particularly like in Arizona, you could use UAVs, sensors, radars, vehicle barriers, and it would be more efficient. I think we're all in agreement that in the populated areas, you're going to have walls and barriers, barricades in the heavily populated areas. In the more desert areas, you could save money and use it for, say, hiring more border patrol or other more efficient uses. So we need to have studies as to what the best use of the money is, but we're spending the money right now and building more walls and hiring more border guards and more facilities to house these people who aren't from Mexico that are going to have to be transported back to the country that they came from. But in no way was that intended in any way to hold up what's going on right now. And we're going to spend billions. It's going to cost billions of dollars. And that's not even talking about our northern border, where, as you know, the 9/11 people came across, as well as recently they arrested some people that had been to Atlanta. So we've got a northern problem also. But let's be very candid about it. The northern border, we don't have corruption on the northern side of the border. As you know, there's not the problems of enforcement on the northern side of the border, although there isn't nearly as much as perhaps we would want. Quite right.
I took your advice and worked for the local constable here. If I could just tell the audience a little story about the center.
We are the recipients with drought 5 degrees warmer temperatures. And I understand that there's an intergovernmental panel on climate change which has made a recommendation that we needed to reduce 60 to 80% our emissions by 2050. And I'm just very curious about your stand on that and whether you support